Welcome to episode 38 of the Midwest Angler Podcast. I'm Scott Sturman, and I'm with Matt Deitch, as always. Matt, Labor Day is done.
It is done. It is over. Yeah, now we kind of start getting some lakes back to ourselves, you know.
Absolutely.
Not to sit there and bash pleasure boaters all the time and stuff like that, but you know, it is nice to be able to go out to a lake and be able to fish and not have to worry about taking waves from every direction.
Right, especially with Okoboji. You know, we both are Okoboji fishermen. You know, that's a very touristy area. They got the wake boats and everything.
Did you see that, like, down in the Lake of the Ozarks or something like that, where there was this guy going around drilling holes in, like, wake boats? So it had a name for him, like wake boat something. Yeah. And I was just like, you know, I think all the fishermen are kind of giving a little fist pump, like, he's our hero.
He was decked out like in all black with not just like wearing a black jacket and a black ski mask. Like, this dude was like SEAL Team 6.
He knew what he's doing. I mean, he had a mission, and you know, goodbye wake boats. So.
Yeah, if he ends up actually getting caught, which I don't think he has, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he has, but I mean, if there's any unsolved crimes down in that area, they're going to be looking at this guy because he was a seasoned vet.
He's kind of being pretty stealthy, that's for sure. But
right.
Yeah, no, it's over. You know, I got to spend my Labor Day doing shingling. Yeah, up at Joe and Brenda's.
Oh, jeez, come on, Joe.
Their garage. Here we thought it was going to be easy, no problem. We're going to get this all done in one day. Woo! Were we wrong?
Really?
Yeah, that thing hasn't been shingled in a while, and there's wood shingles underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then we had to resheet it. We only got half of it resheeted. I think they're shingling half of it this week.
Did you put steel on, or
no? We went with shingles. Yeah. There's a part of me that's saying, why don't we just do steel here, Joe?
After that, you think about running up to Menards and like, you know what? I don't care what you say, Joe. You're getting steel.
Actually, at one point, I was about ready to say, you're just gonna get tarp over this, or
yeah. Oh yeah.
So no, yeah. Labor Day is come and gone, and
some hunting seasons are started. Dove season is officially open now. I think that there's a lot of areas.
Teal season is open.
Yeah, that's right.
Early goose season is open in Minnesota.
Yep.
I think South Dakota deer season is open. Archery on
right.
private ground. North Dakota, I'm starting to see a lot of nice velvet bucks coming, hitting the ground. Elk season. My brother Brant was out in the Black Hills.
Was he really?
Yeah, he wasn't elk hunting. He was with some friends along with him, but He said it was a great experience.
Oh, I bet.
Up there. I mean, you love the Black Hills. There's no doubt about it. So to be up there elk hunting,
that wouldn't suck. Right. So, no, we got a really cool episode for you today, guys. Brian Bashore of the Walleye Guys. Brian is a professional walleye fisherman, fishes the tours, which you'll hear about here in a little bit, and he also has a guiding business, has a couple hired guides. They predominantly fish down at Lewis and Clark Lake down near Yankton, South Dakota, and we're going to cut right to him. Hey, Brian, you there, man?
I'm here, man.
Awesome. Brian, you've got a guide service down Lewis and Clark Lake down near Yankton, South Dakota, called the Walleye Guys. But before that, you grew up down in Nebraska. Tell us a little bit about growing up down in Nebraska, and tell us about some of the fishing that you did down there.
Yeah, you bet. Grew up in Nebraska. I kind of like to call Harlan County Reservoir my home water, even though I still lived a couple hours from there. But, you know, probably spent 50 days a year out there at a friend's cabin right at the lake, and grew up fishing there with my stepfather, who really got me hooked on the whole walleye fishing, and fished my first few tournaments down there. And Nebraska has a really good Governor's Cup they put on every year, and that's down at Harlan County Reservoir, usually the first or second weekend in June. Used to get around 200 teams in it. A little smaller nowadays, but the Harlan Anglers Walleye Club helps kind of run it with them, and they do a really good job tournament down there. And they have a league night. It's just a really good group of guys and a whole bunch of real good sticks down there. Grew up, living pretty much about 50 feet out the door of our house for a few years was the Blue River. So a lot of catfishing, carp, bullhead, you name it. Anything in the muddy Blue River. We'd canoe up and down the river, 4 miles upriver to the little local tavern in town. When you're in second, third grade, we'd go up and get a Mountain Dew and get back in the canoe and go back down river. Stuff you can't imagine your kids doing at that age alone today.
Right.
Versus hardly walking down the street. We'd go up and down a river by ourselves for 4 miles each way. Every day in the summer, basically, set lines and trot lines and stuff like that. it was just fun. Then grew up in Malcolm, just outside of Lincoln. Had some good friends there. His dad's really got me into waterfowl hunting. A good friend got me into trapping, pheasant hunting, you name it. We just, it's a small towns, and still had farm kids around back then. So that's what you did, right? You hunted and fished. And Nebraska's got some pretty good fisheries. McConaughey's obviously a real good fishery. Just didn't get to spend a lot of time there. Really spent most of the time out at Harlan County, but lived 4 miles from Brancho Lake and Pawnee Lake, right outside of Lincoln, and both are decent fisheries. Brancho has always been a pretty good one. Kind of got an overtake of white perch in there now, but nonetheless, when you only got 4 miles to go to get to at least 4,000 plus acre body of water, that's you're pretty blessed to have those opportunities. So
absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
I was going to ask you about McConaughey. You said you didn't do a whole lot out there.
Nope, didn't really get out there too often. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's a phenomenal fishery. You want to catch a big walleye, no matter where you're at. It's a trophy lake. It's a place to go. A 15-inch minimum, where the rest of the state's got kind of a slot. It's healthy. It's very clean water. It's sand. Storms they pop up there like they do on the Missouri River, though. In the summer, they're just all of a sudden they're there and they're nasty, and you got to find a way to get off there. Water level fluctuates a lot, like all the Nebraska reservoirs do, due to irrigation, and then Harlan's based off of it goes to the Republican River, which they got to release to go feed Kansas their water, who complains about not getting a lot of water, and then of course this year they're complaining about getting too much. So
right.
It's just Mother Nature's going to do what she does. So the Merritt Reservoir is another phenomenal, and that's a solid fishery for multi-species. It's good all year round. It's got big muskies in it, real big, healthy walleyes. I believe the Nebraska Walleye Association has their state championship out there this year. Real beautiful place. You can always get out of the wind. So that's in the northwest side of Nebraska, Valentine area.
Oh yeah.
So, what brought you up into the Lewis and Clark Lake area and start guiding up that part of the country?
Yeah, it's been guiding for 10 years or so, and kind of just use it as wherever we're going for a tournament. We'd guide her a few days prior to it, kind of use your pre-fishing and guiding, and kind of help get your tournament paid for, really. Then it just blew up, more or less. Guided down in Glen Elder, Kansas, Milford Lake, Kansas, Harlan. But Lewis and Clark was a place we fished a lot. Really, 3 hours out of Lincoln, 2 hours out of Omaha. It's one of your best fisheries outside of Omaha and Sioux City. It gets a lot of traffic for those that are going more for fishing and sailing and stuff versus the Okoboji type. Okoboji is kind of known for the party, and even though it's got good fishing up there in that Iowa Great Lakes region, you guys are very familiar with.
You bet.
But Lewis and Clark is the second most visited state park in South Dakota. So it gets over 2 million visitors a year. It's been known for bass fishing years ago. It's got a real unique fishery as far as what we call the chutes, the whole kind of the upper west end that goes from about 15 miles from the dam. It begins there and goes all the way up to Piggstown, Fort Randall area, through where the Niobrara dumps into Nebraska. It's not like the Missouri River anywhere else that you'll fish. It's really a lot more like down in Venice, Louisiana, fishing the marshes, or kind of like an Everglades type of area full of sandbars and phragmites and blind corners and holes and shallow water and deep water and 3 mile an hour current. But the demand up there was just tenfold as anywhere else. There was only 1 or 2 local guides that were just kind of part here and there type thing. And just with 2 million people visiting that place, there's just certainly a much bigger demand. So I have a couple other guides working, and it's just really blown up. Even with the flooding, the lake is fished completely different than ever before, but it's been pretty good. So.
Now you actually had a career building houses and doing some other stuff before guiding, right?
Oh yeah, you named it. I've probably done it. Yeah, right out of high school, started building homes, owned a construction company, concrete company, a remodeling company. Did all of that before, right when the housing market kind of went to kapooey. I was a mortgage broker for a couple of years doing that when mortgages rates and stuff were good. Just got laid off from that and started back with another company within a week, more of a mortgage broker where I did construction loans, and that was kind of obviously my specialty, coming from the the construction trades, which is what I did my whole childhood growing up. Stepfather was an architect, and uncle was my father was a drywaller, and uncles were electricians and concrete guys and stuff like that, to where eventually everybody had worked for me for one time or another. Did the construction stuff, mortgage stuff, but then to the finance and insurance firm for several years. By that time, I was also in the Navy Reserves as a CB, which is a Navy Mobile Construction Battalion. My unit actually consisted of South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and Kansas. And once I became the training chief for that battalion, that pretty much that's about all I could do with deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. It consumed pretty much all my time as a reservist. It became more or less a full-time job, traveling for meetings and training the battalion, getting them up to tempo for deployments every couple, 3 years. So good experience, 11 years of that, and now I get to get back fishing finally. So,
well, we thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
You bet.
Now, what came first? Did the tournament angling come first, or did the guide service? Because you said you kind of started guiding to kind of pre-fish for the tournaments. What came first?
Yep. Oh, no, I was fishing tournaments. I think I probably did my first Governor's Cup Nebraska when I was 16, maybe. Then probably just did a couple little local things like that. Nothing for several years. Actually bass fished quite a bit in my 20s. But didn't have a boat. Nebraska's got pretty good bass fishing on a lot of the smaller lakes. That I just kind of felt like that was pretty easy. Got a lot of nice bass, big bass. Use float tubes and stuff like that, or little john boats. Granted, you fish a lot of smaller places that don't get a lot of pressure, just full of 5 and 6, 7 pound largemouth. But once I just started using a friend's boat more. He let me use it. I just fixed it up. Started using that more. Got back into some tournaments and guiding with that. I just had the itch for walleye, which is what I kind of grew up chasing. The walleye are certainly a very challenging fish at times, and just really like that. Like I said, the guiding just kind of by default really took off. And then when I came back from Afghanistan in 2013, even prior to that, it was maybe 30, 40 trips a year. But then at that time, when I came back, I started dating a guy who lived up in South Dakota. Then I moved up there 6 months or so later. Just kind of said, well, I'm spending most of my time in Yankton. Sioux Falls not that far away anyway. But then just kind of really took it on as just a full-time gig at that point, and got a couple more guides to help out. And we stayed fairly busy. The other guys all have other jobs. But if they can pick up, a dozen or 2 trips a year, that works out well for them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So what tournament series are you fishing in now?
The only one I do now is the National Walleye Tour. Okay. So I should be on my way to Devils now, but I'm not going to the championship. Fished the first 2 this year. Had a decent practice, had horrible tournaments, which is how that always works. But just kids are growing up. We wanted to spend a little more time with vacation and the kids this year before they went back to school. Yeah. So we did a lot of that, and then I decided I was going to guide a little bit. It never fails. Every week I'm gone for the tournament. The phone rings off hook. You're missing out. And my co-angler that travels with me is one of my other guides. We didn't, really have any other guides back except Taylor, and he's been busy building his new house. So it was just, there's 2 weeks of nobody running any trips, and it's just not good for business. So stayed home this year, which has helped out considerably. I'm just got off the water a day and be on there the next 3 days, and Monday off, and back Tuesday, and it's busy. So because the fishing's good, so we'll reset, see what the next Cabela's National Walleye Tour schedule looks like for next year, and hopefully get on all 4 of them. So I am heading to Lake Sakakawea. First weekend in October, I believe, October 5th. They have a big tournament up there in the northern end of it. I think it's $30,000 payout for first, $1,000 entry. So I'm heading to that one with a friend that lives up there that needed a partner, and said, "You bet, I love that place." So looking forward to that one for sure.
Yeah, so you talk about the tournament angling and stuff, and missing a lot of guide trips because like a typical tournament preparation, like how long do you go up there in advance, like a week in advance before the tournament, and start pre-fishing and try to find fish or try to eliminate water?
Yep, I like a week. Just kind of depends on where we're going. I mean, obviously the Great Lakes are huge, and a lot of guys team up. excuse me, so you can break down the water, and I've done that. And Takasaki and I travel together. And Randy Hummel, Brent Hendricks used to. He's a surgeon here in Sioux Falls. He's been too busy the last couple of years, and great people, and I like that theory, and I understand it, and you have to do it, but I also would prefer not to do it. I like the MLF format a lot better, where you can't communicate, or actually the Bass Elite Series, where you can't pre-fish water for only a couple days, you can't have a team. Let's figure this out on our own, and let's give everybody 2 days to do it, and that's it, type of deal. So, but, it is what it is. I don't foresee those rules changing with the NWT anytime soon. But the tournaments are Thursday, Fridays, and so in case there's a blow day, the final day would be on a Saturday, but they're usually Thursday, Fridays, so I like to leave the previous Friday, hit the road, and then finish that night, but all day, sun up to sundown, pretty much every day.
Now, above your guide service and doing the professional walleye tour, you're also very active in fishing and conservation organizations. Tell us what organizations you're involved with, and you've got some pretty high-ranking status in some of these organizations.
Well, when you're on them as long as I am and been around forever, by default you turn into the veteran board member. So I started out in the Nebraska Wildlife Federation years ago, back in my Nebraska days. Great organization that spawned into the National Wildlife Federation board position. So I'm a Regional 9 director covering North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. It's kind of my states that I oversee and help those affiliates. South Dakota Wildlife Federation is probably the largest of them all. North Dakota now actually has come into some funding. A couple endowments were left to them, so they have a staff member and an office, and they're growing and doing a lot of great things up there. They just had some good legislative stuff. So, but I spent a fair amount of time, traveling to D.C. or wherever our board meetings are. This is my last year, I believe, on that. I'll be termed out at 9 years, so three-year terms. So we're in the process of trying to find somebody out of one of these 5 states to fill my position. Which they definitely need to do. After 9 years, you're ready to move on, and they need some fresh blood. I think I brought something different to the board, a different approach, or kind of a military mindset I want to talk about it, let's do it, let's get it done and make it happen. I'm the chair of the Innovation Committee now, which is a new thing we started a couple years ago. A lot of these nonprofits are really good at asking for money or fundraising, but not actually good at monetizing their brand and making money. When you have an organization that has 7 million members and an annual budget of $100 million, there's a lot of potential for more revenue to be generated off of whatever you're selling. Maybe it's Ranger Rig type stuff, which is that's how most people recognize National Wildlife Federation, is with the Ranger Rig brand. We have some partnerships with I think Cabela's Bass Pro. We just got a grant working with some outdoor education on that stuff with them. So there's a ton of things. We got a ton of brilliant people there, great minds of science. Colin Mayer is our new CEO we hired a few years ago. He's very, very good at being bipartisan down the middle with legislative issues, and really has gained the hook and bullet crowd back. Your TRCPs, your DU, your Pheasants Forever type groups. So where everybody realizes we can get a heck of a lot more done if we partner up and work together. Certain organizations are better at one thing than the other. So if they need people or there's funding or whatever, where you can help them, you help them, and then vice versa. So that's some really good growth through there. Then I've been with the National Professional Anglers Association for I'm not even sure how many years as a member, and I've been on the board for a couple years as vice president, and then this year I'm the acting president for the NPAA, National Professional Anglers Association.
Now tell us what the NPAA, what does that actually consist of? What do you guys do?
So the NPA is a 501c6. C6 is different than a C3 in the sense of basically political type stuff, what you can do or say, or an endorse type of deal. Still a nonprofit, still tax deductible. It's been around since 1997, I believe. Got over 1,500 members, something like that. Had some great leadership in the POW. Jimmy Bell, Robert Blosser, Mike McClellan, Keith Cabayas, and now myself. Pat Nye was president years ago. Pat Nye is the current executive director currently, and has been for several years. He kind of stepped in from his president role to ED years ago, and kind of just revamped it and took it over when it was kind of struggling, and now it's it's pretty darn successful, I would say. We have members from all over the U.S., Canada. It started in the upper Midwest, so majority of members are, the walleye and some muskie and some catfish guys, growing pretty, steadily, but, not quite fast enough. And in the bass world, that's obviously just a whole nother market. Bass fishing's a $1 billion industry versus our walleye and kind of the crappie world, but we are getting there. There's weekly newsletters, email blasts come out to members. We got, the social media, there's private Facebook page for members to talk to each other. The main thing, the big thing with the MPA membership, is the networking. You can't even put a price on it. The people that you get to meet and the opportunities the doors that'll open from these people and industry leaders that you'll meet at the MPA conference, which is an annual event, which this year it's coming up January 3rd at the Wisconsin Dells at the Chula Vista Resort. We had it in Minneapolis last year. A couple years before that was in back at the Dells, and we're going back there this year. Should sell out. It holds about 450, and last time we were there, we had reached capacity. That's why we moved it somewhere bigger, but then we had a little bit lower attendance. This year is shaping up to be a conference like never before. Press releases have just came out yesterday and the day before. You'll start seeing more and more of it on social media. Our keynote speakers are Johnny Morris, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows who he is, and Mike Iaconelli. So two of the biggest names, and really fishing. And it's about, you don't have to be a professional angler to be a member of the MPA, but if you're aspiring to be one, whether it's a charter captain, a guide, maybe it's media or marine industry, something that has to do with angling, this is the place to be. But especially media as well. So it's probably going to sell out. These guys, we're actually giving Johnny Morris a first future or something. I can't think of the name of the award, but it's basically for his efforts and the future of fishing, really, conservation and education and everything that he has done for the sport of fishing. Johnny Morris has Cabela's Bass Pro, Ranger, Nitro, Triton, all this stuff. So he's a pretty big part of the fishing world, by all means.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually just looked it up today. He's worth $3.9 billion.
Yeah, I'm sure every bit of that. And then Iaconelli is, we don't really have him come in to talk about bass so much. We do have a ton of Minnesota's blowing up with the high school bass fishing stuff, and we have a lot of those guys as members, and a lot of them will attend the conference. And Iaconelli's certainly going to talk bass, but Ike brings a whole new thing to it. He does so much outside of bass fishing.
Right.
His Ike Foundation, his TV show, his radio show, his podcast, everything. He's got an empire basically, and being a great bass fisherman is just part of it. But that's how he branded himself. But he's going to talk about taking that all to the next level. Hey, this fishing is what I did, and I still do, and I'm very good at it. But all of this came from it because of my passion for fishing, and I found ways to try to making a living in this professional angling world is, by all means, I've owned a lot of companies, and this is the hardest one by far. You don't have a product to sell. It's you're the product. So you're having to sell yourself, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be an excellent fisherman. It helps, but I highly recommend that you master many of the arts of fishing first. But you're not going to win every tournament. You're not going to have a great day guiding all the time. I mean, all those you just can't control. There's too many things that are out of your control versus if you build homes or whatever the case is, you have a product, you just sell it. So you have to be able to be that product on and off the water all the time. Be available for people, be able to go work shows, stores, whatever it is, write articles, do podcasts, do radio interviews, be able to jump in a boat with, somebody on their TV show, take them out, get the local media out. There's all those other things to do that you can get your sponsors' brands in front of a camera or whatever. that are important. That's what I think Mike's going to focus on, Mike and Ellie, that is, and talk about that. So the MPA conference is, if you're a member, I believe it's like $100 registration, maybe $150. If you're not a member, it's, $2 or I don't even know the fees. Look them up. NPA.net should have the whole conference agenda and the fees on there. But the discount alone by being a member is well worth it, and that's what you get to go into the conference. So it starts Friday and Sunday afternoon around noon. There's 2 new additions this year as well. We have breakout sessions all day on Saturday mornings, to where it's 1 hour of, last year I did a social media one. We have workshops on Friday for 2.5 hours. One is about how to build your own website. We've had a lot of charter captain stuff ask for, advice on how to do that. And then we have angling communications, which is really going to be kind of resume building, portfolio, a little touch on the website and your brand and your social media stuff. And that's a 2-hour kind of a hands-on walk you through these type things. Most of the breakouts, the other ones will have some fishing tip ones, some more communication, some media stuff. Those are usually an hour, and it's a lot of information, kind of fire hose right at you. But you will leave knowing a heck of a lot more than you showed up knowing. And you're going to meet people that, after a few years, hanging out with Gary Parsons, Keith Cavice is just kind of second nature. Because they're great guys and they're available and they're there for you, and they'll definitely talk to you. Takasaki, all these Hall of Fame people, they're there. Tom Newstrom, and they're more than happy to show you around, introduce you, and just, you can pick their brain and learn a ton of information. So that part is pretty much priceless. This year we're going to have some media rooms set up, so guys like you or anybody else that's coming out that are doing podcasts. We have the Association Great Lakes Outdoor Riders people probably coming, where they can pull Springle in and Shakurit or Hoyer, in for an hour and do an interview and get a ton of content to where they have articles for the next 6 months. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's really neat.
Now, do you like doing all the extra stuff? There you talked about putting your sponsors' names out there, through the social media, through the seminars. Do you enjoy doing that, or do you really just enjoy fishing and that's kind of the baggage that comes along with it?
No, I do. I like to teach. I love doing seminars. I got no problem talking, as you can tell. Sit there and just sharing just everything I know. There's nothing worse than, I heard this one, I think it was Johnny Cannell told me once, and I repeat it a lot because it's right, that when I'm at the fish cleaning station and some guy and a kid come up and, if they ask me, oh, wow, look at that, where'd you catch him? I'm not going to give you my GPS coordinates, but I'm going to give you everything pretty darn close to that. 4 to 6 foot of water on the west end, trolling, whatever, green, all the way down to the color if I can. Because the more people that are out there catching fish, the better for the industry, right? That kid's going to buy gear, and his kids and whatever the case is. And the industry, all the outdoor industry is struggling in a sense. But nothing worse than the guy that comes up and asks the guide or somebody at the fish cleaning station, oh, where'd you catch those fish? In the water or in the mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And that guy, right?
Yeah, well, we all know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know them.
We all know them, yeah.
Right. And the same with, I get it. People blur out their backgrounds on their social media. And sure as crap if you don't, there's got to be 20 boats there tomorrow type thing. And, if I'm taking photo, a lot of times I'll just move.
Yeah.
A little ways and take the photo or spin the boat. But for the most part, I don't care. Yeah. I'm fishing by the dam, and I'll take a picture with the fish in front of the dam. Doesn't mean I caught them there. As fishermen, it's really hard to go catch other people's fish.
Yeah.
So I can tell you everything, but you still have to go. What I didn't tell you is I was going 3.5 miles an hour. Yeah. And maybe you're trolling at 2 and wondering why you can't get a bite. But I said fast, but one person's fast and one person's shallow is different. When I say shallow, I'm talking 2 to 6 foot of water. Most people think, 10, 15 feet. I'm like, no, I'm running into stuff shallow.
Right.
And when I say fast, I'm definitely over 3 miles an hour. So, it's just it's those little things that make a difference. But I love doing seminars, going to the shows, working the floors and selling products. You're sponsored by the companies, at least you should be, by ones you believe in. Right. And I only partner up with ones that I've used for a long time and I believe in them. and they have a conservation ethic.
Why don't you tell us who you are sponsored by?
So Salmo, which we all use the Salmo horse. I do a lot of the pier fishing stuff, which is Berkeley, line mainly. That's not a real big sponsorship type thing, but I do use a lot of their stuff, and they definitely support me on that. And we all know that Berkeley's got a plethora of products out there, and they're great. All the fishing line, and I think we caught most of the fish today on flicker shads and 50-50 almost, flicker shads and salmon. So St. Croix rods, been a St. Croix rods for a long time, love them. There's definitely, I sell a ton of them at the stores. I always tell people you got to put your money into a rod, put it in your jigging rod. And, St. Croix, there ain't no tariffs. These babies are made right here in Wisconsin. So, a great warranty, great company. I do a lot of events with them where they support the conservation of these events. So they're family-owned business. They're just great, really, really good people. Offshore Tackle, Northland Tackle. These are great companies like St. Croix and Offshore, who we all know the story with Tommy Scarless. Tommy's with these companies too, and they still are able to give Tommy his retainer and support him even though he hasn't been able to fish all year.
Yep, that is spectacular.
So when you have companies that say, we get it, take some time off, or if it's maybe you're never going to be able to fish again, we still support you, and here's your retainer check or whatever it is that a guy, may get. That's what you're looking for, a lot of them. Cabela's is my biggest brand. Been with them for years doing stuff in the local stores in Omaha, La Vista, up until we got into the corporate level of things and done some commercials and catalogs, and just, it's been a transition from the Bass Pro purchase of it. So things have been a little different, but I work with a really good pro staff manager coordinator. She communicates well. She responds quick to stuff. And I wouldn't be fishing the tournaments without them. So Cabela's is huge for that. I'm in their stores as often as I can, and educating the outfitters, I think, is the biggest thing to do there. They get a lot of turnovers. You get a lot of younger people in there on some of those stores, depending on location, some not. But going in there, those guys have to work all the time, so they don't get to go fishing as much as they would want. So you got to take your knowledge to the local, what's happening on the river, the lakes, and give it to them so that they can, pass it on to the customers, and they can move more product and give people the right product. So really, really enjoy the heck out of that. But as soon as it all starts to feel like work, then I'll have to find something else. So.
Right. Now, you care if we fire a couple questions at you?
Nope, go ahead.
All right. You talk about you're a big walleye fisherman. What's your favorite technique for catching walleyes?
You can ask that every day. So when I'm guiding, and that typical answer is whatever they're biting on.
Right.
Okay,
maybe I'll say, okay, what if you had to only catch them one way? Which way would you prefer to catch them?
Yeah, I'm a jigging guy by all means. So if I can, even today I quit trolling. We were catching them trolling. I just don't like to troll that much, and clients can kind of get bored even though you're catching fish. I love to troll when I'm pulling the planer boards because that's pretty fun to watch them go back and stuff, and that's real cool. But it's been a really big trolling year on the river. But jigging, anytime I can jig, I am going to jig. So whether that's pitching jigs or like snap jigging with the puppet minnows and jigging wraps. Or if that was beeping, there's another call coming in, of course. But yeah, jigging is hands down. That's my specialty, and that's just what I love to do. Feeling that little thump and seeing the line twitch, and and even going slack. I actually caught 2 today doing that. And as I was explaining to the clients, I'm like, when your line goes slack, that's good. They got it in their mouth, reel down and set the hook. And I missed one because I was kind of watching it, going, see, it's slack, showing him. But then by the time I reeled up, he'd spit it out, and I'm like, now just don't wait that long.
Yeah. Very fun. Now, you kind of dipped in earlier talking about MLF and Bass Elite, so you are familiar. Fishing professional walleye, would you ever be interested in seeing professional walleye fishing go towards an MLF format instead of a weigh-in?
Totally. I think our weigh-ins are kind of a joke the way they're done now. I don't know why we're worried about bringing live fish to the scales if we're not going to show them to anybody. The way the NWT does it. Chip Lear's amazing MC and does a great job. Unfortunately, we get pushed through there as fast as possible to like make it get over with, which isn't the purpose of it. The weigh-in takes 2 hours because everybody has their stage time to do whatever they're supposed to do and show fish. Then that's how it's supposed to work. If you don't want to watch it, go home type thing. Like, the Bass Elite Series, those are 2 or 3 hour weigh-ins. If you have a couple big fish, take them out of the bag and show them to the crowd, show them to the TV cameras.
Right.
Don't just get them off there as fast as possible and then go behind stage, take a photo, and then, you want to get them in the release boat and get them back in the water. But if that's all we're going to do, take a photo of it out in your boat, weigh it, and throw it back.
Right.
So there's absolutely no purpose the way it's set up, and that they're bringing them in to the scales because nobody sees them. There's absolutely nobody sees them except in the tanks waiting for the scales. So let's just catch a photo like the AIM style or the MLF style, put a person in the boat. I would love it to be one angler and not the pro-am, not the co-angler.
Okay.
The way it's set up now. You don't know who you're going to draw. May be great, it may not. There's been handicapped people that now, in a sense, you're handicapped, and I get it. They really can't tell somebody no so much. But you've seen these 90-mile boat rides in rough water, and you got a guy with a bad back that you drew as your partner. He says he can't do it. Well, this is, for some of us, it's your job and you're living it, and you need to cash a check. And now you're handicapped in the sense that I can't go there, or I can't do this, or you may look at the guy and just be like, then sorry, get out of the boat or something. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not being rude. Like you said, if that's your job, you've got sponsors and you're looking to win.
Right.
Yeah, they have a little bit on the line. It's a really good deal for the co-anglers. They spend $350 and they get to jump in the boat 2 days with the pro. And hopefully they get to learn something. So it's a 2-day guided trip, which for a price of a 1 day, really. And it's, they're not really allowed to bring anything. If I'm jigging, which I usually try to find a jig bite because that's my strength, I'll tell them, if you have a favorite jigging rod, please bring it. Otherwise, I got you covered, just because I know how jigging is, and people have their favorite, rod that they're comfortable with, and that's going to make you a better angler. And I want you to be the best angler in the boat possible because you're my second rod. However, I'm completely fine with just fishing by myself, because then there's times you may have a guy that is constantly snagged or can't tie a right knot, and now you got to stop and you got to take care of all this.
Right.
And because you're just not.
Because with the National Walleye Tour, your weight is combined. Like, you guys are fishing together, right?
Yep.
You guys' weights are
one weight.
It's not like, I fished a Bass Open here a couple months or a month ago, and, I'm fishing for my fish, and the pro is fishing for his fish. So, you're, like you said, you're relying on him to know how to fight a fish and, or net it for you and everything like that, because it's your way.
Boy, the netting. Yeah, the netting. That's something else there. I learned that from the very first tournament I did with him, and it was in Lake Erie, and I no longer let my co-anglers hit my fish when we're trolling. If we're jigging, no problem. It's pretty simple. You just put the net down there, and I'm gonna pull it in. But trolling, trolling and netting can be a little different. Hey, here's the rod. You reel the fishing. I'll net it.
Right.
So I've had plenty get knocked off by the net, from the guy who said he was the best netting person in the world.
Usually if they brag about it, it's kind of, I'm sure it throws up a red flag in your mind, like, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, it was the absolute worst net job I ever seen in my life, where I had to take the net and grab the fish in one swoop. But, wow, man, it was bad. So, but, there's a lot of guys out there that no problem with it, and, or maybe if we're catching a little fish or something, maybe I'll, let them net it and just kind of see how it goes and stuff like that. You don't want to hand the rod off a whole lot of times because you just increase your odds of the fish coming unbuttoned. But usually when I'm trolling in a tournament, the rod goes back, I just fish on, you grab it, I'll grab the net.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Now, you're a Nebraska Cornhusker fan, correct?
Yep.
I was just wondering if maybe you'd want to put like a steak supper on the Iowa-Nebraska game here in November.
I went to the game Saturday, so it's not looking very promising.
Oh, come on. Scott Frost was the savior.
Yeah, I know Scott, and actually ran track against him, and my glory day was I beat Scott in triple jump. So I think it was my best day and his worst day by far. So I also believe we broke his dad's 100-meter. I went to high school where Larry Frost went to high school. So.
All right.
Yep. Scott went to Wood River, though, and Larry went to Malcolm. But he is a great guy. He's a freaking phenomenal coach and knows he's really bringing a lot of it back. They just had a real bad offensive showing Saturday. So it's going to be good. I got Colorado this. I mean, I don't think the season is going to be as great as some of them have talked them up. But maybe another year, another two. You know, college football is kind of a 3-4 year cycle. I played Arena League and went to University of Nebraska, and I coached high school football, which I believe you do too, Matt. And I love it. So we got season opener tonight here in about 20 minutes. So
yeah, for pros,
it's on.
Oh, yeah, no, Bears and Packers tonight. But no, I was just going to tell you, we're Hawkeye fans. I just thought I'd razz you. I do think Nebraska will right that ship. Scott Frost will do it.
I will say I got to meet Scott Frost when he was an assistant coach at UNI. He was recruiting some of our players, and yeah, he is a class act, just a great guy. So
now, before we let you go, Brian, tell us about how we can get or listeners can get a hold of you through social media, your website, whatever.
Yeah, you bet. You can go to theWalleyeGuys.com, Bashore Outdoors on Instagram, the Walleye Guys on Facebook. Head over to npaa.net. Check out the NPA and the membership benefits and the conference. Check all that out. All my information is on the Walleye Guys website. Phone number, however, emails, all that jazz is there if you want to get a hold of me. For anything whatsoever, just shoot me a message through there, and we'll pretty much respond as fast as possible. So,
very good. Well, we definitely appreciate you taking some time out this afternoon and sitting down on the phone with us. Very fun interview. We thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Thanks for having me, and anytime, man. Anytime. You got a good podcast, so.
Thank you. See ya.
Yep, bet. Later.
There he goes, Brian Bashore of the Walleye Guys.
Yeah, what a great guy. We appreciate him taking the time, driving back from the lake today and talking to us. It was really neat to find out about the MPAA,
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things I didn't really know about it. I've looked into it before and researched it, but that conference is definitely something that I think that we should take a look at, us getting this podcast going, and it's hard to believe that we're coming up. We're inching closer and closer to doing this a year now. And I was thinking about that the other day. It's like we're getting closer to the year than beginning. So that conference sounds like something that would be really interesting to attend and be able to network out of.
Yeah, and like if I got there and I saw Johnny Morris and Mike Iaconelli and I was wearing like a Bassmaster shirt, maybe like a little Johnny peeing on the MLF logo or something like that.
I think you might get kicked out.
Is that too far? Okay.
I think you might get kicked out. I think we might get asked to leave on that one. But no, I mean, definitely a cool organization. Check it out, especially if you have aspirations of being a professional angler. Or, I mean, like Brian said, any part of it, the media part of it. If you're looking at a career in getting like in the fishing industry and stuff like that, definitely something to check out. Go to the website, see what it's all about. I'm sure if you emailed some of them guys, they'd have a lot of answers for any questions that you had as well.
I was always under the impression that you had to be a professional angler in order to be a part of that, and I didn't know if you had to send in a tax ID number or how that worked.
Yeah, that professional term is always thrown around pretty loosely, so you never know when you hear something like that with an organization if anybody can be a part of it, and I think anybody really can be a part of it. I mean, like I said, that professional gets thrown around there. It's kind of like the term like fitness pro or something like that. There's a lot of people that just started working out last week, and all of a sudden they got a fitness page on Instagram or on Facebook, and they're telling us all how to exercise and diet and all this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute. You've only been doing this for like a week or a few months here. I appreciate your enthusiasm and that you're dedicated to this stuff, but I want somebody that's been in this business or went through the proper procedures for it. So
right. I mean, I can tell somebody how to bust a Pizza Ranch buffet, or
and you could run around and just say you're a professional pizza eater.
Right. My name is on the wall at Texas Roadhouse.
Well, I know it is, and everybody knows it. We still go in there every once. I'm going to take my picture with it sometime.
As well you should. You should. And I think we're actually. I don't know if Brian actually took us up on that bet for the
Iowa, Nebraska. I'm not sure. It didn't sound like he was too confident in his Huskers. I mean, he's confident, but I think a lot of them Nebraska fans are kind of pumping their brakes a little bit, and maybe they're not going to make the playoff series. Maybe it's going to be a battle for the. To win the Big Ten, that division in the Big Ten. So.
I see where this is going. If Iowa wins, he's going to be like, no, we never actually shook hands on that bet. If Nebraska wins,
he's going to be calling you up and being like, hey, what about that steak dinner?
Ribeye.
So, no, we really appreciate Brian. Thanks a lot for talking to us and sharing a lot of great information for everybody out there.
Absolutely. Another thing that we wanted to touch on, I got a message on Facebook last night from a listener, Greg, here in town, and it's a very good topic and I think maybe we kind of discussed it before, but
it's always a topic that needs to be talked about a lot.
Right, just a little friendly reminder. Greg was down at the river here in Rock Rapids, but I don't think this is just a Rock Rapids problem. This is an everywhere problem, and Greg filled up a whole entire garbage bag full of trash on the riverbank, worm boxes, pop bottles, you name it. And we've all been down there and we've all seen what kind of junk. It's like, what were you doing with that down here?
Right.
And I think it is our job as stewards, or sportsmen and fishermen, whatever, to leave it better than we found it. And, I understand that you don't always want to haul out everyone's trash and do whatever, God knows where it's been, whatever. But I really do think that all of us, and me included, need to make a point of, if we're down there and we see a couple pop bottles, go throw them in the back end of your pickup and throw them in the trash can when you get back. I mean, it doesn't look good for us because walkers and all these other recreation people that are down there using the park or lakes or wherever, anywhere, they look down and they see that on the riverbank, tons of fishing line, leaving your fish on the bank, whatever, and it gives us a black eye.
Right. And people, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's not our job. It should be the people that are picking it up. No, the true stewards, the true sportsmen and everything like that aren't going to leave that trash there. Those people are too lazy to bring it with them, so they're never going to pick it up. So unfortunately, it falls on us to do it.
Absolutely.
So just do it. I mean, because we can complain about it till we're blue in the face to those people. They're not going to do it ever. They just think, well, why?
Right. Oh, it'll wash down the Rock Valley.
Right, yeah, and then it's their problem, and then so on, and that's what happens here, like a river system like that. Sometimes you get high water and things get washed in. Okay, if you can pick it up, but right now the river is really low here in town.
Right, nothing's washed in the last few weeks.
No, so just pick up your trash, pick up other people's trash. Unfortunately, we have to pick up after everybody. But it's a good thing, like you said.
Absolutely.
People walk by and they see it. We're down there casting, and they see empty worm box down there or an empty lure box down there. They're going to think it's this person standing right here. And
right.
It's just like, we're not going to say, no, that's not my trash. That was a guy that was down here earlier today.
Yep. No, we appreciate Greg reaching out to us with something like that. That is definitely something that needed to be talked about. And if any of you listeners have something that it's like, golly, I wish these guys would talk about this. We've had, listeners in the past shoot us a message, talk about boats, talk about whatever. Keep doing it. We like hearing from you guys. Give us some feedback. Hey, you like this? You don't like that? Hit the like buttons on the Facebook posts. Hit the subscribe button. If you're on iTunes or Google Play or YouTube, whatever, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. And Tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about it if you actually like listening to us. If you don't like listening to us, and I don't know how far you're probably into this episode, 40 minutes or whatever. Well, thanks for sticking it out.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. You're probably the same people that leave your trash on the shoreline. No.
That's exactly right. No.
Yeah, well, before we go, we probably better just say Jeremy K, just because
contractual
Jeremy K
once a day.
So
Yep. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week.